Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday live stream. So just give me a quick update about what's going on the weekend, but there's some interesting developments, and especially if we take a look at Bitcoin overlaid with NVIDIA. And before we get into that, just a little recap real quick. As far as like ETF flows, now yesterday we talked about the ETF flows and just how awful they actually were. Now the flows, this is either it's going to be net positive or net negative. Those are the flows. Now the volume is something different. But yesterday we said that yesterday was 20th of November. 21st of November, I should say. And as we were talking about this, because the data is a little bit laggard, we talked about Thursday's volume of 903 million, which was the highest amount ever for the outflows. Actually, it was corrected to me that actually the highest amount was $1.1 billion of total net negative outflows. So this one just came pretty darn close, or close enough to be concerned at 900 million. And then with all these outflow days that we've had them the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. I mean, pretty much negative, negative, negative. You can see all the red numbers here, 186, 561. There's like 1, 2, 3 days that were 4 that were positive flows. And then just yesterday, we had 238 million positive net inflows or flows of the Bitcoin ETF. So that is a very, very tiny speck of positivity that is happening right now. So that is great that we have a little bit that is coming on. But what it tells me, and this is actually a post from Eric Balchunas, senior ETF analyst for Bloomberg, and he states that there's an eruption in volume for the Bitcoin ETFs, an all-time record set today. Of course, this was yesterday, with 11.5 billion as a group. IBIT, of course, BlackRock, was $8 billion of that, which was all-time record for it. Wild, but also normal. Whenever an ETF or category is going through it, volume is elevated. ETFs are liquid release valves. What this says to me, and correct me in the comments section, we'll talk about this in the Q&A, but if you got that much volume and we eked out just a positive, and I know it's not like people say, hey, 230 million is a lot. As far as ETFs and all that, sure, I get it, but it's not a massive, massive amount. You had that much volume going in and out, positive, negative, sells and buys, and you get just a bit of a positive. Again, that's a very small speck. What this says to me is nobody knows. Nobody knows where things are going. You've got all the analysts, and they have their own like different aspect as to where they think things are going. But if you have this much volume and just a net positive, it's barely good enough, I think. And that's why I still say that November is going to be a pretty negative month going forward. I think December is still going to be tough. And that's why we did that video, gosh, 4 or 5 days ago, where I pretty much just said, like, hey, it's up to you, but you got to better make a decision quick. And that was when Bitcoin was around 95, 96. Now we're hovering around 83, 84. So I think this is just one more thing to happen. And then I was taking a look at, this is from the Kobishi letter, great stuff, always puts out fantastic information. I don't know if you guys have known this, but NVIDIA has gained 450 billion and lost 600 billion over the last 54 hours. Now, of course, there was a positive note because the earnings call came in and it blew everybody's expectations away. And that's where the positive 450 billion. But there is a fear hanging over everybody's head as people are saying, like, look, we think that AI is this massive bubble and it's going to burst any time. And there's different data and there's different aspects that could look at that and say that actually could happen. And you lost 600 billion. All in all, that is that's over $1 trillion in volume. You gained 450 billion, you lost 600 billion. You are net negative 150 billion for NVIDIA. And it is sentiment based, and that's what's going on. And when we did this live stream, someone had mentioned to me, they go, hey, if you overlay Bitcoin and the NVIDIA price, Bitcoin price, NVIDIA price, you'll see just how correlated those two are. And it makes a lot of sense because a lot of people are talking about how Bitcoin's a bubble, which they said that forever, but it is a risk on asset. It's not like gold risk off asset. Even though people say it's gold 2.0, people are still treating it as a risk on asset. And they're treating NVIDIA right now as the same thing. So what I like about Ben's website is I can play around and do this thing called Workbench. I can take the Bitcoin price, which you see here in blue. Oh, so nice. Look at that. Things are looking pretty good. And I can take NVIDIA price and just pop that over it. Now, NVIDIA going back to 2010-11 wasn't what NVIDIA is now. NVIDIA is the big king of AI plays. And since 2022, roughly about right here, when it came out and you had ChatGPT, and of course you need NVIDIA, you need all those chips, you need the compute power and everything else to pretty much move things forward, we can see just how things have lined up. It looks pretty similar. Now, there are some times, and this is true, for 6th of July, 2024, there was an inversion. NVIDIA had a little bit of a drop. There was different things with the earnings call, where AI was going. 2024 was not the big thing. Of course, remember, this is over a year ago. But now as we've come forward into 2024, 2025, early 2020, we can see just how much it is tracking Bitcoin and NVIDIA. And just recently, got a nice little top here for Bitcoin and NVIDIA. But what have you noticed lately? Just going down and down and down. So I think that is interesting enough, something to watch. If NVIDIA starts to bomb out, I expect Bitcoin to bomb out. So we'll see if it keeps being correlated, but it does make a lot of sense, especially as the markets are quite fearful of what potentially could happen. So let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And then let me ask, hey, Bobby, what do you think about this? Do you find this to be a pretty decent correlation between NVIDIA and Bitcoin? And try to chime in now. Let us know what you think. Well, I'm going to guess Bobby doesn't want to answer. Oh, well, we'll try this again later. Anyhow, that's the beauty of new technology. Anyhow, let's take a look at what's going on with the Ethereum ETF flow. So we took a look at Bitcoin. Ethereum ETF, unfortunately, has also been quite red for quite some time. And then, of course, there's a net positive. So again, a very small piece right there. And things are looking relatively pretty good. But you know what the bright part is here is Solana. The Solana ETF flow. Bitwise, VanEck, Fidelity. What is this? 21 shares in Grayscale. And look at that. Nothing but positive flows for the Solana Bitcoin ETF, or Solana ETF, I should say. So there's a bright spot for, of course, those who are Solana holders, such as myself. Hopefully it continues, but we'll see where it all goes. And also, this was talking about volume. Bitwise says, we're thrilled and humbled to share that the Bitwise Solana staking ETF has crossed 500 million in assets under management. So I'll get a little feather in the cap for Solana. This is actually good news. In its first, that's pretty good. $500 million in its first 18 days of trading. So not too bad. Speaking of Solana, it looks like Coinbase and Brian Armstrong are going heavy in the Solana ecosystem. Check this out. This is from Brian today. He says, earlier this year, I said we'd level up our Solana game. Since then, we've brought Agent Kit and X402 to Solana and made upgrades to our infrastructure to scale services, a 5x improvement in block processing, 4x improved RPC performance. Now we're bringing Sol native tech and talent to plug into our platform and level up support for Solana trading at Coinbase. This is how we build the everything exchange. And Coinbase put this out that they have acquired Vector.fun. I don't know what that is. If it's like Pump.fun, then, I mean, great for them. I don't see the point of Pump.fun or Vector.fun, but okay. An on-chain trading platform built in Solana whose tech will plug directly into Coinbase to help better serve one of crypto's most active ecos. What the heck is Vector.fun? Let me see. Ah, fantastic. Ape memes with friends. live on Apple and Google Play stores. So congratulations, Coinbase. You just bought into a major meme company, which let's see if that works out for you. What a waste of time. I don't know how you all feel about meme coins and where things are going, but I think to take ourselves seriously in this space, we need to get rid of that. And this is trash. But again, Coinbase, good job. Way to waste people's money. And lastly, before we get into a little Q&A, speaking of Ethereum, Tom Lee came out and said that this is a pretty funny statement. We do not believe crypto prices have peaked for this cycle. A cycle top is likely only 12 to 36 months away. I don't know if that is the correct quote. I could not find it. But if it is, it's from Cointelegraph. They're not perfect. But 36 months to wait for a top. Yeah, good one to say that. And then lastly, before we get out of here, I want to share this with you. I think there are things that we should invest our time and effort and money into. And there are things like what Coinbase just did that we should not. I think meme coins are worthless. I think they do absolutely nothing and just a way to dump on people. But this, I can definitely get behind. This is Hunter Worsley. He's the CEO at Bitwise Investment. And who's going to speak? This is Robin Vince. He's the CEO of BNY Mellon. And BNY Mellon, if you don't know, or Bank of New York Mellon, is the oldest bank in America. It's the largest custody bank in the world. I didn't know this, $53 trillion in custody. Let me say that again, $53 trillion custody bank, one of the most widely used service providers in traditional finance. And listen to what he says about tokenization. I did not know they were that interested into it. So take a listen to this and make sure the volume's up. You can hear this. Interesting.
Can you go into digital assets and sort of this trend toward tokenization and how that plays into the business model a bit?
Yeah, sure, Carl. It's a really important trend. It's one of the mega trends. We identified a series of mega trends about a year ago, and we said we want to position our business, invest in those capabilities that will allow us to benefit from those mega trends. Because while we want to drive and are driving organic growth, we also want to make sure that we're attaching ourselves to these big market cycles, and digital assets is one of them. Now, that's not just stable coins, it's also tokenization, and it really is across the ecosystem. So we've been investing around the ecosystem for using our traditional assets and then evolving our traditional business assets to be able to be on-chain as well.
Can you go into...
I'll take that. So, I mean, again, this is a nice little segue. That hopefully that they go in heavy into tokenization of assets. I believe that will be the future. And once we can tokenize everything and get everybody access to it, it'll be pretty great, especially real estate. So on top of that, I will be at Tokenize Puerto Rico 2026, which is going on January 29th to February 1st. If you make it down there, please give me a shout. I'll be hanging around. I think tokenization, again, is the future of everything. And I think that is the big play for crypto, not meme coins. That's it for today. So look, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing when we talk about his time sensitive. I want to give a shout out to Bobby for not chiming in when he was supposed to. Bobby, I don't know what happened. If you're still there, chime in. Tell us what you think about the Bitcoin overlay with NVIDIA. But that's it for this one. Let's go into a little Q&A, answer all your questions, and we'll go from there. What do we got? Let's see. Crudy says, screw all this garbage. It's time to face reality and look at Monero so you can have privacy. Here's my question with this, with Monero and Zcash, because it is all about, you know, privacy and privacy tokens and not being able to track and everything else. How many transactions has anybody done on a Monero and Zcash for actual payments? I'm just curious. Could you put it in the comment section how you've done that and how you've moved funds around? Because to me, like, Cash App and Square just rolled out the ability for all their merchants to accept Bitcoin. And in El Paso, Texas right now, where I'm at currently, I'll be in Puerto Rico very soon, there are like 5 locations where you can do that. And this is all the merchants that have Square, and tons of people use Square, right? It's a global standard for merchants. Not, of course, people say, well, I don't use Square. Just saying, a lot of people use it, blah, blah, blah. So when I took a look at this, I'm like, you got 5 people, and that's just Bitcoin. That is the largest digital asset that we possibly have in the world. And now Zcash is coming up, and there's this huge, I think it did like a 10x over a year. So congratulations, Zcash holders. And people talk about Monero like Grudy. How many of you have used that for transactions? And how many of you are still using it for transactions? And how far does this go? Or is it just something like, this is cool, it could use that at some point? Let me know in the comments. Let's see. Drinking in Australia. I had to give up on SHIB. That's okay. We all have to give up on something sometime. So let's see. Christo says, Rob is sounding like a crypto newbie this week. If you can elaborate on that topic, I'd like to see what you're saying. Let's see. Is alt season a thing of the past? Let's see. Where is this? M. Fred. Mr. Field, is alt season a thing of the past? Like, I've been saying this for quite some time. I don't think that all alts will run because there's not that much retail to fund. I think our platform, our markets, it used to be retail, and now we're going more to institutional. And you see it everywhere. And because of that, I think a lot of gamblers don't really want to get into a lot of altcoins, especially with what happened in 2021, where they lost everything because they were into FTX, and you know how that went. And then, of course, we got into the meme coin push, which originally was pretty much organic, and then it kind of gave way to, it was just a big VC pump and dump, and they got screwed over yet again. And now, you know, here we are, and I think a lot of the retail, they don't want to come back, and they don't want to speculate, because they're like, I keep losing. You know, I'm not going to keep going into this casino because I keep losing. So I think a lot of these alts will die, and they should die. And hopefully a lot of those developers will go over to chains that actually do something. And then we can start to really take off, because we don't need 10,000 tokens. We need 3 to 4 really good ones that actually do stuff and integrate into the system and make traditional finance better. And that's why I like with tokenization. That's why I like payments. That's why I talk about the best tokens out there, which are Bitcoin, Binance, Ethereum, Solana, and Tron. So those are the best. And I think those are the ones that in the future will probably make it. I may be wrong on some, but I don't think I'll be wrong on every single one of them. We'll see. Anyhow, to answer your question, I don't think alt season is coming back. Tom leaps. That's a great picture. Rob is a pro. Great content. Sol is sure getting devs in right now, as well they should. I mean, they're actually growing. Bob says, I shielded my profits from Zcash. That's all an S-coin deserves. It has lost 90% of its value to Bitcoin. Well, I mean, Zcash is Zcash, and everybody seems to want to pump it. I did see one. Who posted it? Tom McGrath? No, that wasn't it. Somebody had posted that that the Zcash organization had reached out to him and wanted him to pump it. But then I was looking, and I was like, I wonder if that's the actual Zcash Foundation or if that's just another scammer just reaching out. So I didn't even want to talk about it. Yeah, goddamn, exactly. Yeah. Meme says Zcash has optional privacy that users can control, make their transactions shielded or transparent, public. And that's great. I'm just curious, like, who actually uses it? In this whole chat, I want to know anybody who has used Zcash or Monero to do any kind of transaction moving forward. I've personally used Bitcoin for transactions. I actually use it here. It was like a nice little thing. Now, let's see. What's up from Dubai, Rob? Do you ever get tired of talking so much? This is pretty much the only time I do this much talking. Other than that, it's pretty quiet. Bodan says, Look at the media, Rob. There was articles about institutions giving up Bitcoin for Zcash can also cause the pump. Yeah, I'm not saying that it hasn't been happening. I just saw one from Van Eck, where the CEO came out and said that, hey, you know, the narrative around Bitcoin, there are some issues, especially with quantum computing. We don't think it's going to affect it yet, but it could in the future. But he said, but now people are talking about privacy and how important it is. And he didn't say we're looking at Zcash or we're purchasing Zcash. He just talked about how that was the narrative about privacy. Let me ask you this. I mean, how long has Zcash been around? Now all of a sudden privacy has to be the big thing? I mean, I guess so. I mean, if you're a Zcash holder, fantastic. I just asked a question, which is how many of you have actually used Zcash for any transactions? I doubt, I'm going to guess less than 1% of everybody on this chat has used it. FJ says, anywhere there's a need for mechanics in Puerto Rico, is always need for that? Let's see. Hey, Rob, do you de-risk any alts? I don't hold any. Well, I guess if you call Dogecoin a meme, I still hold that, but that's about it. But the rest of them I got rid of. I think they were all worthless. Fake privacy, if you look into it, I don't even want to know. Let's see. How many merchants in Puerto Rico take Bitcoin? I don't know. I mean, my friend Steven used to do it over at the San Juan Smokehouse, but I haven't used the app, the Cash app, to check out the map. So I'll let you know when I get back. Hide your profits. Shaking my head. More like evading paying taxes. Yeah, I mean, you can do it. You can try it. I would not recommend that. And then Emerson says, the real problem with privacy coins is the risk of them being banned because of privacy. I'm not going to FUD it, but I know there was one exchange that said if it went through these types of wallets, we're not going to accept it. Doesn't mean it won't be awesome at some point. Is it hard to mow the lawn between the pavers? That's a green screen, but I would guess whoever made this green screen that they would just use AstroTurf or fake grass. Let's see. Oh, I'm not even going to talk about that. You must want my channel to get banned. Almost. Let's... Anyone ever notice the way Rob says Solana? No. Zcash to pay at Chipotle with Zashi Wallet and Flexa. Who's done that? Spout off and tell me. Did you sell all your alts? No. Are we in a bear market or pullback? Bear market. Rumor has it Solana is going to increase the deflation rate. Yeah, they're going to vote on that right now, as a matter of fact. Crypto Stevo says, Rob, I've been buying more Solana than even more Solana alts. The inflows have been really good. And that's not a rumor, that's true. Let's see. Thanks, excellent work. XRP ETF, I believe that's coming. Okay, great. I got one person. Joe said I use Zcash to pay at Chipotle using Zashi Wallet and Flexa. I have one person. Fantastic. I fear privacy coins will be outlawed. Who knows? That means that if you're a Zcash holder, maybe you want to take some profits. That's all. Yeah, I thought there was a ETF. I don't know. I don't hold any XRP anymore, so I'm really not that big into it. But there's a ton of other channels that love XRP. They'll tell you all about it. I'm gonna leave this here. This is good. What's going on with the Central Land? Are there plots of land still worth a lot? Haven't heard about this since 2022. Yeah, that's a good reminder. Remember when Facebook changed their name to Meta and everyone went crazy because they thought this was the new future? be careful with the new future, because it could be tomorrow or it could be 20 years from now. And that's why you always want to take profits. That's pretty good. Anyhow, that's it for today, everybody. So thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. 25. Thanks for being here for 25 minutes hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Tomorrow, well, the live stream will be with Jerry, and then we'll go from there. So everybody, thanks so much. I appreciate you. Like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Adios.